2022. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at any time during the meeting you can't hear me, just yell. I have a different mask on tonight, and I can't even hear myself with it right now. So our agenda this evening is as follows. Number one, Galavan minor subdivision. Applicant seeks minor subdivision approval to create 3 new lots consisting of 14.06 acres, 12.43 acres, and 1.00 acres on property located at 159 Deep Kill Road. Sean Galavan is the applicant. Number two, Vickers waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks approval for a building lot for property located off Krieger Lane. Michael Vickers is the applicant. Number three, Casey, waiver of subdivision. Applicant seeks to subdivide 2.08 acres from an existing 8.61 acre parcel on 461 North Lake Avenue. Thomas Casey and Elizabeth Casey are the applicants. And it was too late to put on our agenda, but we have put under old business one item, McClure waiver of subdivision. And that is the applicant seeks to subdivide 2.183 acres from property located at 232 South Road and transfer it to property located at 206 South Road. Todd McClure is the applicant. There are no public hearings scheduled tonight. So moving along, for our first item on our business agenda is the review of the minutes of our last meeting on December 16th. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at those? And are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the minutes as they've been submitted. Do I have there's a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, first on our agenda, number one, the Galavan minor subdivision. Okay, we have one recusal. I believe that the only thing we have to review is the written response to the comments at the public hearing. You have submitted that. I believe everybody has gotten a copy of that. It's distributed. If you would just briefly go through that real quick and
Sure. The only one to speak last meeting was Ms. Melissa Charist. She basically had 4 questions. I'll go through each one of those and give you my response. Number one, what is the classification of the stream that runs through the front of the property? That little stream is actually the very beginning of the Deep Kill. It is a Class A stream per New York State DEC Environmental Resource Mapper. Right there where it goes through, it's 3 to 6 feet wide, very shallow water, hardly runs. It basically starts from Mr. Galavan's pond and the runoff that comes off all of those hills and then runs down and around the property. Number two, she has previously had issues with New York State agencies regarding the crossing of the stream. What are our plans with regard to crossing? This subdivision plans to utilize 2 existing culverts with existing driveways to access lots 2 and 3. To access 2 of the 3 lots. That's lots 1 and 2. Lot 3, this will not cross the stream and therefore will not impact it in any way as far as a crossing. Her third question asked for clarification of highway site distances for the parcels. So I've got those listed here. Lot 1, the biggest lot to the north is north 480, looking south 632. That's from an existing field drive entrance. Lot 2 will be a new driveway going in right along next to the driveway that goes up to the old Sean Gallivan's father's house. Looking north, that driveway will have 588 feet. Looking southeasterly, about 468 feet. And then lot 3, the small 1 acre lot, we're going to utilize the existing driveway that's there right now, and that has, looking north, 563 feet. Looking south, about 396 feet.
And before you go any further, just for
Yes.
the record, those are all acceptable site distances considering the speed limit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Number 4, noted that the property is highly erodible with lots of wetlands. So my response to that would be that Steve Dean has done a complete SWIP and erosion and sediment control plan to ensure that stormwater is managed properly. The Army Corps wetlands along the northerly side of Lot 3 were delineated by North Country Ecological so that we could be sure that any proposed construction in Lot 3 would not infringe on these adjacent wetlands. There will be no impact to Army Corps wetlands on this site, and there are no New York State DEC wetlands on this parcel. And that's my response to Mrs. Charest's comments.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any questions?
Hey, Brian, could you just show me again where the stream runs?
Sure. Here's the pond right here, Don, and that's basically a big filter off all of these hills. All this water runs down and ends up in this pond. There's a little bit of a kind of a wet, swampy area that kind of filters into this pond, but then there's an existing culvert here. The water comes out of this culvert, comes down in, and then there's a stream that runs right along here. We've had all of these wetlands flagged in here so that we knew just where they were, and then it comes down through, and then this is a very steep bank back up to Mr. Gallivan's shop in this flat area, and then the stream runs down through another culvert here, out through and out the property.
So where the driveway for lot 1 would go, it would actually cross a culvert?
Yeah, there's an existing, yep, that is it's a pretty big CMP culvert that's been in there for quite a long time.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Wayne, would you like to make any comments on the SWIP and all that wetlands?
Yep, as Brian mentioned, there was a SWIP done as a modified SWIP because there's less than 5 acres of disturbance. He still is required to do a soil erosion sediment control plan, which they submitted, which I find to be acceptable. We had requested at one point to have the engineer look at the greater plan based on previous subdivisions across the road, based on the drainage patterns of previous subdivisions and this subdivision. The response to the investigation of the greater plan we find to be acceptable, that they are different storm sewer sheds. So there's no cumulative impact from previous subdivisions. So we've reviewed all the information on the SWIPs, and we find around the stormwater and the stormwater plan and the soil erosion plan to be acceptable. After reviewing Brian's responses to the comments made at the public hearing regarding site distance, they're all above the minimum required site distance for a roadway with the speed limit.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for Wayne in regards to his responses? Okay, is there any other questions for Brian Holberter? Andy, then there's no reason why we can't proceed.
Correct. You can proceed.
Okay. And first I will ask for a negative
I'll
declaration.
make a motion for a negative declaration.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now, on approval of the minor subdivision, is there any conditions that have to be put on that?
Subject to input from Rain. I mean, with the lot sizes, it's a non-realty. Is there an existing note on the plat that says health department approval will be required before building permits issued?
There's not a note, but we have tentative health department approval for all 3 lots.
Yep.
Pending approval by this board.
Then a condition that'll note it's a non-realty subdivision and health department approval required before building permits can be issued.
Is there any other conditions that anybody would like to consider?
I have one more, which is what you have done with driveways going onto a town road is to just note that it requires a 2% back pitch for the first 10 feet off the public road.
That note is.
Is it on there?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, and he'll also require permits from the town for those driveways.
Yep.
I know it's a field drive, but it becomes a residential home, they're gonna still
Understood.
need a permit.
Sure, understood, Wayne.
And I would say any changes to the plan as far as driveways, you'd have to come back to Chuck and
Yep,
have him evaluate whether or not it's significant enough to come
Sure.
back to the board.
okay,
Because you're relying on existing culvert pipes. you
Right.
know, And if you make a change, then.
Right.
And that is a Class A stream,
Mhm.
and there are certain permit requirements.
Sure.
For
Yep.
disturbance of a Class A stream.
Mhm.
Okay. And if there's no other comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the minor subdivision with all the conditions that have been previously stated.
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set?
Okay, thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
You too, Brian. Thank you. Okay, number 2 on our agenda tonight is Vickers waiver of subdivision.
Good evening. Hi, Kevin McGrath. I did the newest drawing here for Mr. Vickers. He's got a few copies of. I'll have to just, I can answer questions on what we did, but I know he's been in many years ago and described to me. I haven't seen it in writing, the previous waiver approval. And, I drew the 2 lots, according to what he understood, was previously approved in 2014. 16. 15, okay. And so this is a preliminary plat. We haven't put stakes in yet. I'd like to, if it's approved, to do that, bring it to Matt to you later. But anyway, if he could answer all your questions, and I can answer anything about what we've done.
Okay. Just as a footnote, we have been discussing this at previous meetings.
Okay.
We did have a lot of information, past minutes, past approvals on resolutions and so forth, reviewed by Attorney Gilchrist. There was some issues involving timing as far as approval of some of these back over 5 years ago that preceded our new existing codes, our new zoning laws. So I had him take a look at it, and if I would, I'd like to turn the floor over to Andy just to review what has been approved before and what has to be approved now.
Basically, basically when we started, we went all the way through the planning board, the town board to get the property, so we could put the extra house on there, my other son, on the left side of the property, and split the property. That was granted, but they didn't like the language from the planning board, so I had to go back to the planning board. From Tom, they were at the town board, I believe he's still there, and they changed that, all right? And we had already put in the waiver, which didn't have any sunset clause or that, and when I went back to the town board, they said, you're done, you don't have to do anymore. And I work in Alaska, I said, I've got to go back to Alaska to go to work, and I did. And when I came back, I didn't have 2 tax maps, I wasn't getting 2 tax maps, so obviously something wasn't right, okay? But basically, I had Kevin redo the drawing here, and we had given you back then. What happened was we gave you a handwritten drawing, okay? And then you said, once we approve this, go get the other drawing. We split up exactly the way it is right here. There's no changes in anything. We agreed to the driveway. The driveway, we were gonna put it in the roadway. It's gonna go by with Jimmy Dayton and everybody else. We agreed to the 40 feet that the planning board, people, the planning board, the zoning board came up. I can't remember which board. You can look at the minutes. But it's all in there, okay, that everything that we were intended to do. And they said, all I had to do at this point, because I came to you guys first to get it approved, and they said, no, because it's a dead end road, you've got to go to the town board to get that extra lot approved, to get the waiver. And they gave me the waiver. But they didn't like the language from here and they sent it back. I didn't realize I had to come back to your board. All right, I had no idea I had to do this. So I'm just being honest with you, okay?
No, I understand. I was on the board, and I think most of these people were on the board.
Yeah.
When you,
I'm just trying to get it accomplished so we can do this, and I don't, you guys go ahead, tell me what I gotta do.
okay, I'm gonna turn the floor over to Andy. We had some discussions this afternoon. He's reviewed all the past minutes and all the past approvals, so we can proceed ahead. So,
Okay, thank you.
Right, so in general, what's been described as substantially complete. There was a waiver application in front of the planning board. There were 2 issues that came up on that review. One, there's no frontage on a public road for the proposed new lot.
Yeah, there is.
And
Just
if I
like-
can finish.
let
Okay, sir,
him
if I can finish?
Yeah,
Okay.
I thought they gave me 40 feet. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay,
The proposed lot did not have frontage on an existing improved public road. And 2, off Krieger Lane, the number of existing lots plus this proposed additional lot exceeded the allowable number of lots under the town code for a dead-end road or a cul-de-sac. So the board said you need to address the frontage on a public road issue, and that can be addressed through an area variance through the zoning board of appeals. And you need to have the number of lot limitation on a dead end or cul-de-sac road addressed by the town board. First thing you did was went to the zoning board with the area variance application, which, if granted, would allow a lot to be accessed over a private roadway or right-of-way to an improved public road. There was a public hearing held by the zoning board. The zoning board did grant the area variance subject to conditions. I'll go over the conditions in a moment. The board then made a recommendation on the waiver for the number of lots on a dead-end road to the town board. You proceeded to the town board at their regular December 2016 meeting. There was a question by the town board as to the content of the planning board recommendation and asked for clarification from that, which you did. And then at the year-end meeting, the town board at the end of December 2016 did grant the waiver for the number of lots on a cul-de-sac road or a dead-end road. The thing that was not done, and if there was miscommunication, then that's all it was there was no final action by this board to actually approve the lot as a building lot through the waiver process. And that wasn't done. When you didn't receive 2 tax bills, that was the indication that there wasn't 2 lots created. You still had 1
Lot.
lot.
Right, that's why I came back.
So now we're 5 years later, okay? And in the interim, I have looked at this, A new zoning law has been adopted by the town. Under that current zoning law, an area variance does expire after 1 year unless a building permit is pulled or unless there's work done in furtherance of the area variance. But recall, this was granted, the area variance was granted in October of 2016. It predated the current law.
Yep.
While there may be some legal question associated with that, I think the better course is, in general, absent a specific time limitation in the code at the time the variance is granted, or there's a time limitation included in the variance as a condition, the variance continues to run with the land. And I think in this case, it's advisable that the variance still is in full force and effect. Had this been granted after June of 2017, your variance would have expired under the terms of the zoning code, and you would have had to go on back to the zoning board and ask for the variance again. And that there was no limitation, and there continues to be no limitation on the duration of the town board waiver for the number of lots on the cul-de-sac road.
Yep.
I presume, and you can correct me, and Wayne, if you know this, there are no changed circumstances. There have not been any additional building lots off of this segment of Krieger Road.
Yeah, not to my knowledge.
Okay. So there are no changed circumstances with respect to the waiver on the number of lots on the cul-de-sac or Dead End Road that the town board granted. So the applicant is back in front of you, granted 5 years later, after the original review of this, and asking for approval of the waiver, which still needs to be acted upon by this board in order to legally create this additional building lot. Now, it is a waiver application in front of you. You do have certainly the jurisdiction to attach appropriate conditions in the event you move forward and act upon the waiver application. Okay? I'll review with you what the zoning board attached as conditions to the area variance, which still are applicable and must be complied with to move forward with the additional building lot, because those were binding and continue to be binding conditions on the variance. And these were the private road. Now this is, you've got the map in front of you. There's Krieger is improved, and then we've got a private right-of-way leading off of Krieger, which is currently providing a driveway to Dayton, your neighbor.
Correct.
All right. But the right-of-way continues past Dayton.
Correct.
It's partially on Whitbeck's property. It crosses over onto
Mine.
Vickers' property, and then it provides access to your adjacent lot owner.
Correct.
So there will need to be, if you follow me on the map, there will need to be improvement on that
Yes.
unimproved 40-foot, I think it's 40-foot, right-of-way.
40-foot right away with 16 feet of road going in.
So-
Okay, it has to be built to the town specs, and that's what we agreed to.
Well, actually, what the minutes say is the private road to be constructed within the 40-foot private right-of-way must be 26 feet wide, paved with proper drainage, and a turnaround constructed at its terminus at no more than a 6% grade.
I thought the road itself was 16 with 8 feet on each, or some footage, whatever breaks it up to 26 on each side.
That's,
Okay, I don't
this
know.
is the difference between the travel way and the full paved
Oh,
width.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
But you got to have 26 feet wide
Yeah,
of pavement
No, we,
with drainage.
Yep.
And I'll leave it to Wayne to determine,
Yep.
what the travel way would be and what the drainage would be on the side. But the condition was 26 feet
Right.
wide
well, the key was.
with drainage.
Key was they wanted to be able to get fire trucks down there, turn around
Absolutely.
and get them back out. So that's
Right.
what we agreed to, is we were going to make it to the town requirements.
Correct.
Okay, and
And
that's
I-
basically what we said in the minutes of the meeting.
Yep.
And that's what we'll do.
I do recall the public hearing, because at that point, the adjacent property was owned by Ashdown, Flora Lee Ashdown, who was concerned about making sure that her right-of-way
Yep.
continued to be available to her. Okay? And certainly, the second condition was a plan for the road specs and construction must be prepared and approved by the town building department prior to road construction. So that would come in when you're ready to proceed and build.
Correct.
Third condition A written private roadway maintenance agreement must be prepared and reviewed by the town.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's got to come from Jimmy Dayton, who owns the property next to us, and whoever bought the property on the other side.
That's
along with-
correct.
Along
And
with Woodbeck. Because-
that's correct.
Because Woodbeck's got the adjacent property, and they're gonna, whatever they're gonna do with that lot that's there, I don't know what Jackie's got done yet, okay?
But you're correct, that
That's what's
right of
gonna
way goes
happen.
over that land. So understand what this condition means.
Yep.
You need to approach your neighbors. It
Right.
would, in essence, be a four-way private road maintenance agreement as to who's going to maintain and how it's maintained.
And meet the town requirements, yes.
Well, whoever's going to construct, that's your issue. And
Four people gotta get together and split the pie and construct on the road and get it done to the
that's
town.
probably
That's what's gotta
how it
happen.
should happen.
Right.
But that's the condition, meaning that's got to get negotiated, agreed to, and reviewed by the town. Okay?
When we go to put it in.
Uh,
Just before you put it in.
Well,
Yeah,
yes.
no, I'm gonna show you before we put it in, but
Yeah.
before we go ahead, we have. to
We
get
can
everybody
discuss
together.
that at the planning board, okay? And then finally, the private written roadway maintenance agreement must be executed and filed with the building department prior to the road construction.
Yep.
All right, so the issue is, for the board's consideration, is whether these conditions would be considered by the board as appropriate conditions for the waiver approval, they'd be consistent with the zoning board, or are there any further or additional conditions that you'd consider on the project? All of those are within your discretion when reviewing, considering, and then acting upon the waiver. Okay. Now, in my opinion, the private roadway maintenance agreement as a condition, if it's considered to be a condition for the building lot, that would need to be negotiated and reviewed by the town before it's a final approval for the plat to get
The only-
recorded in the clerk's office.
The only problem we have with that, okay, and I just want to stress this, okay? We have new people that bought Isaacs property next to mine. They don't have road frontage or any intent at, right now, of building in there. All right, they got an encampment in there.
Mhm.
When Chuck called me, he thought somebody was, camping on my property or squatting on my property. And I asked him what side of the stone wall they were on, and they were on the other side, and they've taken the stone wall out. But they have an old trailer in there. They had a camp. They had a porta potty in there. They weren't in there building a house, and they had a turkey pen that was all falling down. And Chuck's tried to work with them to clean it up. But I don't think they're going to be an active party in doing this. So it's going to be difficult to get them on board. All right. I think Jimmy Dayton will be on board, and I have not talked to Jackie or Dick. But to do this prior to splitting it, what I'd rather do is once we split it, I got 2 tax maps. Then we've got to get, before we build, we've got to get that maintenance agreement into you guys to agree to.
That's up to the board's discretion.
That's what I would be looking for.
And the issue,
Okay.
sir, is that we're 5 years removed from a public hearing on the project, and nothing's happened for 5
I
years.
understand, but when I left the town board, I asked right there in the meeting on the town board, and Tom will tell you this because that's how you remembered who I was. I said to him, now, look, I've got to go to Alaska. Do I have to do anything else to have this done? He said, no. He said, we have to send this back because we got to clarify the writing on it. That's what
Mhm.
Phil said to me
Mhm.
when we were standing there, okay? So I left for Alaska,
Mhm.
and then I came back, and I wasn't getting 2 tax maps. And I don't want to.
And when did you learn that? The next year? When you only
Probably
got
the
one
next
tax
year, but
bill?
I had a lot of other things going on. My wife has had cancer for 2 years, 3 years in a row, which we had to focus on, and she almost died. And then I had a kidney transplant she just had last year. And I just got my 2 hips replaced, and I'm 67. I'm trying to do all this, and I'm doing the best I can, okay? And I noticed that was there. The 2 tax maps weren't in there. I asked Mr. McGrath if he'd go over there and just, so we could have a map, because I knew that you're going to require a map. And I asked Chuck to go back through all the old minutes of the meeting. Okay, and that's basically what we did. We weren't leaving it drop. It just got dropped in there, and then the pandemic hit with all the problems we had. No excuses, but I'm just being honest with you what happened, okay? And I'm still running a business in Alaska, standing here talking right now. Difficult at that point to do both and get everything accomplished all at once. All right, and there was no sunset clause that I saw on the property. I thought everything was okay, but I didn't understand why I wasn't getting 2 tax maps. I didn't understand that. Okay, being honest with you.
Excuse me, Andy, can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Just on the plat, I understand the providing the maintenance agreement and the paved road. Is that up past Mr. Dayton's property until we get to this property? But did that include that he was to provide another road through his property to get to, it was Murray or to,
It was I.
His mean to go through, so that was the wording of that to continue all the way through to that?
It was
To
to
have
my,
to get to his property?
get to my property and put the driveway in.
Right, that's what I mean, it's a big difference, if you just go to his property, or is he gonna be constructing this blacktop road through his property for the benefit, these other people have, they've had a deeded right of way. This, Murray, I got this, years ago before he took care of this, right of way to go through there, but I don't know if that's, I just wanna clarify, the right of this road continues through his property. That's a big difference.
The original thing was that they were gonna put a cul-de-sac there when we bought the property from Woodbeck, okay, at the end of Jimmy Dayton's, where Jimmy Dayton's is. And Mike, who was in the building department at that time, 2016, said you need to put a T at the end instead of the cul-de-sac. But the road has to be built to the town specs till you get to where your driveway is gonna start. Your driveway is gonna be built wide enough to hold the fire trucks and have a way for them to go down and either turn around or do a horseshoe or a circle, okay? And that's what we agreed to do, just so, and I'm being straightforward and honest with you, okay? That's what was discussed. Because what the thing was, they didn't have, Ives wasn't gonna, when Ives owned it, they weren't gonna build in there, they weren't gonna do anything there at all, they just logged it and it was used to access their property from the top side. Because when I bought the property, Jimmy Dayton's house wasn't there. None of the houses up in there were there on Krieger Lane back in '92. Basically, that right of way that we bought, we had approval to build a house in there without having road frontage back then. In '92, I showed you the map. I didn't show you guys the map, but the original board I did. And we had it approved not only by the town, but it was approved by the county when LaPlante was the inspector down there to do a conventional septic. All right, on the lot, and I've got that map, and it's down in the county, it's, still there. For the one house was already approved there, but we didn't have road frontage, and when I came to do the variance, they said, you can't build a house without road frontage, so I'm going, I didn't know that. I had no idea, because back then, they didn't give you road frontage, they just approved it. Went ahead and did it, so in that right of way, went across the middle of my property, and they had to change that to where it went now, and the new people who bought the property, they just opened up took the stone wall down and opened up the whole thing. It was a right of way now. It's a mess over on that side. I'm not real happy with it, to be honest with you. I think Chuck's tried to do a job on it, to try to explain to them to get it cleaned up, but I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Let me clarify something.
Sure.
Are these new people here going to be included in the agreement would they be included in the agreement to proceed ahead or what?
Right, that's my question.
They don't have road frontage.
That parcel doesn't front on Flower
So
Road?
they are one of the parties that would be involved in
Yeah, they don't have road frontage. I'm being honest with you, they
That's
don't.
how I interpreted this.
Okay.
They don't have, you don't have road frontage either.
Right, so this would allow, that's an existing lot, that's an existing property next door.
Totally separate farm, they're two different farms. This property,
No,
the
this
back
is-
property, originally came all the way over to Flower Road.
Mm-hmm.
This was the back half, this, Ashdown was the daughter of Mrs. Dodge.
Yep.
And this back part of the property was hers, and just for access, she got this agreement,
Because
Mhm.
through Whitbeck to get in because it was closer.
Yep.
in the future, but she still originally was cut off from the big farm from Flower Road, which is a mile that way.
Mm-hmm.
So this really, that's my question, this right of way that's granted through Vickers really doesn't sound like it could have anything to do with this road construction to get him into his lot.
That's their.
That's what I,
Well, you're raising an interesting issue, and I don't know the answer as we're sitting here tonight. This is a new thing. I always interpreted, and I'm going to have to go back through the zoning board record on this thing.
because I think at that time, none of those people, that was another farm.
Oh, no, I have a clear recollection, Kevin, of Flora Lee Ashdown being at the public hearing at the zoning board very concerned about her ability to maintain access through that right of way. And I think you'll recall that. She was present at the public hearing.
I never denied her access to the
No,
property.
no, 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 no. Given the discussion about her concern regarding her ability to continue access the lot, and then the zoning board discussion about a private road maintenance agreement,
That was her, yeah, she wasn't happy with the private road maintenance agreement, I think, is one of the problems she had, is that what you're saying?
no, I'm saying that I always interpreted when reviewing these minutes that that property would be included in the private road maintenance agreement.
That's what I was asking.
But if that's an issue, I'm going to have to further review the planning, or strike that, the zoning board record to determine what the intent was.
I was trying to just get from Crater Lake.
I understand that,
To my
sir.
property, okay?
I understand that. But in front of,
All right, and I had to get Jimmy Dayton on board to do that, and Jimmy was okay with it.
Mhm.
Weebex, I haven't had a chance to talk to.
Right, but understand, there's an adjacent property owner that has legal rights over that very same 40-foot right-of-way.
Does the new property owner for, that bought from Florence Ives or her daughter at, do they have road frontage? I don't think they do. I was told they didn't.
Sir, I don't need to answer these questions tonight. It's up to the zoning board. There's a
No, no,
waiver
I'm just
application in
asking.
front of them.
No, what I'm asking is, if they don't have road frontage, then how can they be, I want them in the maintenance agreement, I'm not saying no to it. But
Okay,
How can they,
well, then that's easy.
how would they do the maintenance agreement if they don't, they just have a right of way to drive in there? I don't understand that part.
Well,
of it,
you
I
have a
guess.
right of way to drive over Whitbeck, so.
Yeah, I'm
I
not
think it's
denying them the
similar,
right of way to
right?
drive over that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. But if they don't have road frontage and we have to have a maintenance agreement for people who have road frontage on the road, that's the way I understand it, unless I'm misunderstanding.
No,
it.
there's frontage for that lot on the 40-foot right-of-way.
If there is, then they gotta be in the maintenance agreement.
Look at the map.
Sure.
That easement
Then
continues
they
right up
have
to the
be in-
property
They
line.
have to be in the maintenance agreement.
Of course.
But what we did with the original meeting that we had is anybody that the road had to go to where Jimmy Dayton's house ended and we went on to my property to meet the town requirements. And then off of that, we could put our driveways in to a certain number of footage. Okay, and I can't remember the exact footage. We just had to make the driveways wide enough so the fire trucks could get down there, turn around, and it would support the fire trucks to go in there. And that's what the agreement was. We didn't do from that part to Ives's, all right? Because that was really, they weren't going to build in there, and that's why they weren't included in that part of it. If they want to be, that's fine. I have no problem with that. But they're going to have to maintain their part of the road in there on the maintenance agreement, if that's what we're going to do. Everybody's got to maintain their part of the maintenance agreement.
Mhm.
That's what I'm saying, okay? But this was done prior to the property being sold by Ives, just so you know.
Well, earlier this afternoon, Andy and I had a conversation about this. And I didn't have a problem with approving the waiver with the same conditions that were just previously read out on the waivers and the variances and so forth and so on. Whether that gets expanded out, I don't know whether we really have any say in that. We're just requiring that there be an agreement for all the interested parties in the,
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the maintenance agreement for everybody who's got right away to go into their property there. That's part of that'll be fine. but-
Right, the only issue for the board to consider is that a condition that needs to be satisfied before the plat is stamped and recorded? Or is it a condition prior to a building permit on the new lot? And that's within the discretion of the board.
let me, let me hear some comments from the board here. Linda, you want to make a?
I was just curious, who will be the reviewer of the maintenance agreement? The town board attorney? Or will it come here?
That's a fair question. It simply said reviewed by the town.
Would his attorney prepare an agreement to be signed by everyone? Is that how it is?
Yeah, that'd just be,
What if somebody doesn't sign it and want to sign it? What do I do then? They're not on the maintenance agreement, then they can't. What do I do? I mean, you you gotta think about this, you got 4 people involved with this. I know Jimmy would do it and I would do it. We don't have a problem with it, pretty good premise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the new people who bought Isaac's property will work with us at all, I'll be honest with you.
I don't see where they have a choice. If they want to get across the,
I mean,
they want to get
have,
across there to access their land, they have no
I
choice.
know, but I can't tell them that, the board would have to tell them that, or the town, I mean, the town would have to discuss that with them, that they'd have to be included on it, they're gonna have to share in the cost.
Actually, the way this works is that the town isn't obligated to do anything. If there's a condition attached to an approval, the property owner has to satisfy it.
So
And
if
if
they
you-
don't do anything, then.
If you come back and say, I have an impossibility to satisfy this condition, then the town can deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know what the answer to that is yet.
If I can get my property approved, and we'll put the maintenance agreement together for you, we'll submit the maintenance agreement for pre-approval before we go to anybody with it, to make sure the town is in agreement with what we're trying to say in the maintenance agreement. So that way, when we go to some of the people that own the adjacent property to talk to them, we can proceed ahead before building a house in there. If that's in agreement with it, I'd be acceptable to that. And that way, the only thing we have to go on, if I could submit it, so Chuck over there, and he could go through the board with it to see where it's at. And if you have any questions or anything, we just, change it, whatever you guys want on it. But it's gonna be the agreement to meet the town requirements for building a road in there and meet the requirements to, so a fire truck can go in there and turn around and go to the houses. Okay, that's the way this, and I know, I've never read the maintenance agreement with the lawyer, but, on how to do that.
They will, and
Okay.
that's a requirement for if the board acts of the land use approval.
Yeah.
What the maintenance agreement is designed to do is to say, who's going to maintain it and how.
Yeah, we're all
Because
gonna be
the,
responsible.
I understand that, but that's the purpose and intent of that. It's a private road. The town will not maintain this.
Okay,
But there has to be the ability for emergency vehicles to get into those lots.
absolutely.
And the way to ensure that from the town perspective would be, there's a private agreement as to who is going to maintain it and who's responsible. Privately enforced, it has to be observed, because the town doesn't want a situation where no one's maintaining the road and you can't get an emergency vehicle in there when there's an emergency.
Well, yeah, absolutely. If you're gonna have a house in there, obviously you want to be able to have emergency people.
Yep.
I don't have a problem with that,
Yep.
sir. What it basically is if we can do the lots and then do the maintenance agreement, put that together for you, get it submitted for approval, pre-approval, before anybody signs up, and then we'll take it to them and go house to house.
So the issue in front of the board, again, is the timing. Whether the board is comfortable with allowing an approval, create the lot, record the plat, but not allow building on the lot until the road maintenance agreement is submitted for review to the town. Or alternatively, whether the board would want that agreement reviewed before the plat is stamped and signed to legally create the new building lot. And that's within the discretion of the planning board.
A technical question. If we allow that, and it's subdivided, and the lot is sold, that's an additional party to the maintenance agreement. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yep, they have to be included on the maintenance agreement.
No,
If anybody sells.
what would, correct. What generally happens in these situations is there will be a provision in the road maintenance agreement that it is binding on all successors and assigns of the lots. Presumably, Mr. Vickers will be owning 2 lots.
Yep.
And will sign on behalf of whatever the lot numbers are going to be.
Right.
And any transferee of either of his lots would be bound by the road maintenance agreement.
Yep.
These are generally recorded, sir, so that all future owners are on record notice of what the obligations are for the private road.
Absolutely.
I have another technical question. In the current law, is there now a time constraint placed on the approval?
Not with a waiver. There's generally time limits after an approval to get a plat recorded in the county clerk's office, 60 days. And if it's after that, the clerk may take it or they may reject it as untimely. There's a certain period of time to satisfy any conditions attached, but there's not like a 1-year duration. No, once the plat's recorded, it's created. Unlike site plans, special use permits and variances, those have durational limits now under our zoning law.
Can he record the plat without the maintenance agreement?
Well, that's the question for the board, because if it's a condition, if review of the road maintenance agreement is a condition to the approval, you can't record the plat until that's done, then the answer would be no. But if you choose to say we're comfortable with a condition that says no building permits will be issued until the road maintenance agreement is prepared and reviewed by the town of Brunswick, then they could record this plat and create the lot. Okay? And I would add, if the board goes in that direction, I think for everyone's protection, there should be a plat note added to the map that gets recorded in the clerk's office that says no building permits for lots so-and-so, whatever they're identified, shall be issued until a road maintenance agreement is reviewed by the town of Brunswick.
Right, right. I'd like to get from you, just jotting down to get the exact notation to put on here for
Sure.
the road width, road. And that's why I was asking about, with that, and when you talked about either a turnaround or, Mr. Vickers said that he remembered someone saying a T, I don't know where that'd be placed, and that,
Well, they wanted-
that came up.
What they wanted, okay, so you guys understand this, every house that went in there, every lot that went in there, whether it be on, well, Eyes now or the 2 lots I had to have the ability for a fire truck either to drive in there and drive right straight out on a circle, or like Jimmy Dayton has, I don't know if you're familiar with that, or to go in there and be able to back up on a T far enough so they could turn around and drive back out. And that's what we agreed to, okay? Because they have to do that. So Ives's property would have to have one who, I can't remember the new name, but anyway, they're gonna have one on their property. The one lot we have here, what my son was thinking of, I'll make sure I got the right lot, which would be, okay, that's Jimmy Dayton's right in there. What he was gonna do is go in here, now you go down, this way goes into Ives over here, or in Ives over here. He was gonna go down and go over here and do a circle, he was gonna put a house, the house was going back here. All right, the original right of way, by the way, went back here, and we changed it to up here, and now they widened it this wide. Probably I'm doing it pretty big on that. I mean, it's a problem for me, I gotta deal with it, but, we were gonna put one road there, and then this other road is into the lot. Okay, and if they're gonna be wide enough so the trucks can go in, put a T here so the truck can back up, we can't put a circle on that one. Whatever my other son does with that one, but that would be a T, so the truck can come in, go to the house over here, and then back up and come back out. This one over here, most likely, will have a circle, if it doesn't, it will have a huge T here, they can back the truck up. Okay, that's what was agreed to.
So Kevin, if on the town's website are minutes,
Okay,
go down to 2016, okay? Zoning board minutes, I'm going to give you dates. All this is set forth in the zoning board minutes.
okay,
All right, first one is July 18th. Next one is August 15th. The next one is September 19th. And the approval was October 17th with the conditions, okay? That'll give you the record.
okay, thank you.
As far as the board is concerned tonight, I think we have to make a decision of whether we want to, which way we want to proceed. Do you want to proceed ahead with allowing the subdivision and the maintenance agreement in place after that, but before building permits are issued? Or do you want to have the maintenance agreement coincide with the approval, and it has to be in place before the approval of the lots? I don't have a problem personally with allowing the subdivision approval and the maintenance agreement after the fact with no building permits allowed until it's approved. Do I have any comments on that or discussion? How does anybody else feel about that?
Well, I have one question about the terrain for the driveways. I mean, there's no topos or anything on this. I mean, are we confident that the driveways are all establishable? And normally, we would have driveways shown on these maps for these two
This
separate
is all,
lots.
it's all a field, it's flat. And the people that bought Isis, by the way, without even talking to me or talking to Jimmy Day, went in there and put a road in, okay? To take a old tractor trailer in there, and they got it parked in there with no license on it. I mean, they got other stuff in there. They just drove right in, but they put a road in, not even talking to Jimmy, and he's here. I was in Alaska when Chuck called me and said somebody was squatting on your property, and I said, I don't think they're on mine, they're on Isis. So they already went ahead and did this, but it's flat in there. The only thing, the road that they put in is gonna, and I'll bring this up, being honest with you, straightforward. There's a spring where that road is, okay, that goes to their property just before it gets into Ives' property. He didn't put the proper culvert in there, okay? What's gonna happen is the spring, the water's gonna back up on my property. All right, I know it's gonna happen. It happens every year. If there's a road blocking that and the culvert isn't deep enough, that's gotta be changed on his part. He went ahead and did this, all right? And he's got water on the other side, which I got a problem with too, backing up. It goes into a spring and a brook that goes down through. It's fresh that goes down through. But they just went ahead and did everything they wanted to do without saying anything to the town or I think anybody. I mean, I didn't know till I got back, and I'm being honest with you. Anyway, the grading, Kevin can tell you, it's pretty flat. I don't think there's a problem with the roadways going in there. I mean, the original road, if you want to know.
Kevin, there's no wetland.
Where the road, where our property is, no.
There's
Well, not, no, it's just right in this lower, right in this corner where he's going, that
Yep.
little, kind of this wet area.
Yep.
Not a- just a little-
But there's no DEC or core designation on it.
No, it's just that there's a spring there, a spring of the year, the water's.
I haven't seen the road, actually, I marked this monument and staked it out, that's what the last time I see was in January, before they built the road, January 20. And so I haven't seen, I don't know, we'll have to do the update, this will locate the existing conditions. So the driveway for lot 2 is gonna have to cross that 40-foot easement in order to get out? Where's the driveway for lot 2 gonna be? That's, I'm a little confused by that.
Lot 2, the driveway for lot 2 is gonna be, here's lot 1. Lot 2 is gonna be over here as well. They're not even gonna go over here.
It's gonna go
We're
right,
gonna go on the outside of this and go up right here.
go through the easement?
Only this part of it right here. This little part right here. This actually, I thought originally was over here more. But Kevin said it wasn't. I thought it was over this driveway. I had more room here. Okay, because this is a huge piece here, and originally Monroe, I did the second map, and on the first map, I thought I had more space there. And Monroe didn't put that in there. Monroe was the second surveyor that did the house that we were gonna build in there with the one road. It's gonna be a separate driveway. There's 2 separate driveways to each house.
Wayne, do you think we need to show the driveways on there? Your opinion?
Well, typically for waivers, we don't get into that kind of detail. Sometimes minor subdivisions, it's not required, but if we feel that the lots may not support a driveway, we do ask for somebody to show us how they would access the lot.
There's plenty of room.
It's not required, but we often request it if there's some question of whether or not, you can put a driveway to spec on the lot.
So the T.
It's hard to determine that without any topo.
Right.
Typically,
Totally flat, you just drive straight in and it's just a flat field.
It's flat field.
typically when you have some significant slopes, we usually ask them to show us how you're gonna get a driveway in there.
This is a field flat.
So the cul-de-sac that Andy was referring to, or the turnaround, or T, you referred to as a turnaround, not a T turnaround, right, Andy? You had mentioned that they're required to put in a turnaround.
For the fire trucks, there's gonna be a T up in here.
Right, with a turnaround constructed at the terminus.
So is that for each lot, or is that just at the end?
Each lot has to have a T up by the house up in here. The fire truck has to go in, according to the fire chief. When I met with him, he wants that ability to turn his truck around or to drive in here and go around the circle, come back out on the same road. He
I
wants to
got,
buy
I got
a
the
couple.
impression from Andy that it was for, basically for the right of way for all the lots.
This,
The developed 26-foot wide road, the paved portion also requires a turnaround.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a little confused on what,
okay, this is what they required, so you understand, okay? And I'm be straightforward with you. They wanted this built to the town spec when we came off of, up in here, all the way down into here, okay? They wanted it built to town spec. Any driveways coming off this to the existing properties, okay, had to be wide enough to hold the fire trucks and heavy enough to hold them going to the houses. That when they got to where the houses were, they had to go, they had to have a T, or it had to be a circle like Jimmy Dayton's got right here, so they could drive right in and drive right out. Okay, that was his part. And then on this one, they wanted a T here because you couldn't put the circle in here, right? I mean, you wouldn't have enough room. And that's what they wanted. And that's what we originally did. So, this is a flat field. He saw no problem with it, the fire chief, when he went up there. That's all they
That's
required.
just- that's
The
just-
Ives is gonna have to put their own, when they're gonna have to go on this right of way, which is on my property. They're gonna have to drive when they get across the line, wherever they put their house in here. They've got to put a T, so if that fire truck goes up to that house, they gotta be able to turn around. Of course, a circle in there. If they put a house, that's what, basically what she said.
Put a point to where these squatters are.
Well, the squatters are right on the line. There's
They're not
Chuck will tell you,
squatters.
he's been there. There's a camper right here, and they've got their awning out, and they've got everything out. They have a solar panel on my property over here, getting solar on the property going to that with a cord. They've got an old turkey pen here, which Chuck had to take the turkeys out of, but the pen is collapsed. And they've got a tractor trailer bed in the back here, open, sitting here. I mean, even they take pictures of it. And they had a latrine right on the line.
Sure,
That's not
that's
building
this
lot.
parcel right here.
No, because they haven't
Creeper Lane coming in, the road
But
comes in.
it's not a camping area either.
What I don't
Creeper
understand,
Lane.
and maybe this is.
They got some nice
Lane,
houses there.
Why
that's
doesn't
why I'm
it just go
confused. I don't
straight?
see how that plays into
Why
anything,
doesn't it
tonight,
go
because
right
that's
in?
not building lot.
Because the lot just opened up an actual.
No, he asked me he just asked me where the trailer was and where everybody was, and that's what I was explaining to him.
Right, well, that's why I'm confused about the turnaround, 'cause you.
I'm gonna read
you're
something
talking
to you in a
about
minute,
turnaround.
okay?
The turnaround, ICE is gonna have to put their own turnaround in with the town, whoever bought it.
Just for the record, it's Mansfield Brady.
I know, sorry, Mansfield Brady, I'm not gonna have to, but they're gonna have to put their own business turnaround in here. Every house on this area, the fire truck has to go in according to the chief to be able to turn around or drive right on through and come back out, okay? And that's what the requirement was.
Yeah, but they'd
Is
have
that
to-
because of the length of the driveways, Chuck?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it goes into a fire apparatus road over 150 feet.
You had to be able to turn around. I'm sorry, sir.
But those folks can't even build without coming in front of us, so that's not an approved building lot. So that.
No, that is an existing lot.
that is
That's an
approved.
existing lot.
It is then.
It is.
How many acres is that?
It's large.
So they've got a building, they've got an existing
What's that?
building.
The existing non-conforming
To
lot.
my knowledge, no,
I didn't think they did.
well, to my knowledge, a lot exists, right? What did your new neighbor purchase? What land?
Isaac, he purchased the top side of Isaac, right there.
Right, which
It's
then
18
goes,
acres.
which, how much?
18 acres.
Yeah, which is also then, as Kevin said, goes kind of up and over and down to Flower, that whole lot?
No, it doesn't go down the flower of the lot they purchased. The lot, see Dixon owns the other side of Ives, that all got split off where the right of way was.
Well,
So they have,
that was created, that 18 acre, 16 acre lot,
it's 18, I think.
18 acre lot?
18.23.
That was, I don't know when that was created, but that's an existing lot on the tax map.
It was created, here's what happened, okay? Sold their land to Dixon, okay, where the original house was, or where it was in Florence. That got sold to Dixon. So they cut off right at the tree farm. And they had the top part of their property, they separated. I don't know if they put a variance in or not, I don't know what they did.
I have no idea how
I
that
have
was
no idea,
created, but
but
it's existing.
I know that the owners of this new property told me that they asked if they could build in there to the town, and the town said I didn't see any problem with it at the time. But I asked them if they had a building permit or the town approved the building there, and they said, no, they didn't have road frontage. I met Chris on my driveway.
So Andy, is that why that lady was concerned, that she wanted to be part of this, so that she would keep access to that?
That's
property?
correct.
So we have to figure out whether or not, where this is gonna go, whether it's gonna.
So I'm going to read from you from the zoning board minutes dealing with these driveway issues. It all rose out of the fire company, okay? The Center Brunswick Fire Company does comment that the road leading to the Vickers building lot should be at least 26 feet wide and paved for fire apparatus and have no more than a 6% grade.
Yep.
In addition, the Center Brunswick Fire Company recommends that any driveway over 150 feet require a turnaround large enough for fire apparatus. The Center Brunswick Fire Company also recommends that each building lot off of the common driveway have its own separate driveway off the common roadway leading to the residence.
That's what we're proposing.
This, is maybe, should have been asked a long time ago, Mike. Why didn't the Windex or whoever had planned this out, just didn't have that access road go straight? It goes right into pretty much the center of the Mansfield Brady
That would
property.
be fine with me, and then I wouldn't deal with it, and I would be very happy.
Because the logging that they've done up there, they actually have a cutout pretty darn close where if you went straight, this land would end.
They can have it. Just do it. I have no problem with that. I'll sign up tomorrow morning. I want them as far away from you as I can.
So one of the proposed, yes, one of the proposed conditions then in front of the board for consideration, if you wanted to move forward from this, and you're okay with a condition that deals with no building permit until the road maintenance agreement is provided to the town for review, would be, will approve the waiver. It is allowed to be filed in the county clerk's office, the lot created, certainly with a plat note and an express condition to an approval that no building permit can be issued for the Vickers lots until such time as the private road maintenance agreement is reviewed, provided to the town for review. Because that's what the zoning board condition
The only
says.
question I have no problem doing that. The only question I have is, what if I run into this, do I have to have this signed by everybody, or just the maintenance agreement reviewed, and then we go to signatures? Because you could run into a problem with somebody on signature. I can't control that.
Well, you bought a lot with no road frontage.
I did,
You,
I'm gonna tell you, to be honest.
now wait a second,
Mr. Tarver,
wait a second.
You don't know, you don't
You've
know
been
this.
going on here for a half an hour telling us that you know this and you know that. You didn't know enough to come back and get this thing signed.
Because the town board
You-
told me it was over. I didn't have to.
You know, you're characterizing what the town board said. I don't know what the town board said.
Tom said that. He was-
Oh, okay, fine. I've spoken with Mr. Chaffee, and he has a different recollection. So let's put an end to that discussion. The plain fact of the matter is, regardless of what you may have heard, every land use applicant is aware that I need to get a planning board approval for a subdivision approval. That was not done 5 years ago. That's why you did not receive 2 tax bills.
Could I just
There
say
wasn't,
something?
no, you can't at
Yes, I
this
can.
point.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
I'm a member of-
I'm done. I'm done.
Just hear me a second.
I'm done.
Originally, Mr. Tarbuck, you don't understand something, okay, and I don't think you quite got the message. Originally, this property didn't have to have road frontage. I went to the town, and this was one lot, and this lot was approved for a house by the town. It was filed with the county, and you can see it in the county.
I'd like to see all those records.
I showed it to you when I came here in 2016. I'll bring it to you, sir.
Sure.
Because the county, Kevin's seen the records of the original lot. Am I correct, Kevin?
Well, I've seen a plan for one house on this property.
Thank you. And it was approved.
An engineering approval for one lot.
And it was approved by the county, and the conventional septic was approved right here, so I gave you that when I first came in to do the variance. See, you have to understand, back then, they didn't require road frontage when I did this. They never said anything about road frontage. When I came to the variance, sir, you're correct in saying that I had to have road frontage, and you're correct, Mr. Tarbuck, in saying I had to have road frontage. But I bought this property, all right, when I bought it, my one condition was I could build on it from Windex.
You can build on that. You can build one house on that
No, I
lot.
can build two.
You're asking, no, you're asking us so you can build two houses on that.
We already went through the board on that, and they said you gotta go to the town, and the town board agreed to split it to let me do that. That's,
We could certainly, if you would like, ask for clarification from the town attorney as to what the town board did or did not do in December of 2016. That's fine.
can I
You-
ask
you
you
can do
something?
that.
You talked to Tom, right? Didn't he say that they agreed to split that so I could build the second house in there? And I had to go back to the planning board this time because the variance had to go through the new planning board, the one that had already gone through here.
Well, the town board agreed on the
On the
increase
split.
for the numbers for the home on the cul-de-sac.
Thank you.
That doesn't answer the question, sir. That's called a waiver on the number of lots. It still requires subdivision approval, and I think Mr. McGrath is well versed in this. The only way to create a subdivision is have the planning board act on the subdivision application. And that wasn't done by the planning board.
Okay.
It's unfortunate, and again, there may have been a misunderstanding, but the process was not completed after the town board action in 2016.
So that the stamp on the map needs to be signed by the planning board in order to file the map with the county.
Correct.
It needs to be voted on.
Yeah.
It was never voted on.
And in the interim, if additional lots had come in off of Krieger Lane that requested a subdivision, then we might be in a different situation. But luckily, that hasn't happened, and there's not more than 12 houses on that road right now. 12 lots.
Okay, we've been hammering this out for quite a while here. I think everybody knows pretty much what the circumstances are of all this. Obviously, there wasn't a waiver of subdivision approval connected with the other actions that were taken. I would say that probably if there was an action taken, it probably would have been approved back then. With the conditions that were determined by the zoning board action. So I think we're caught between whether we allow the subdivision to be approved with the condition that the maintenance agreement be finalized and, brought back to the town for their approval and a review before a building permit. If everybody's fine with that, we could proceed ahead. If people have some issues with that, then we're going to have to take another look at this, possibly go back and have the waivers re-evaluated and approved or discussed or modified. Would that be a fair assessment, Andy? That if we don't approve, then the waivers would have to be, could be revisited or not?
Can you repeat that? Like,
If we decide not to proceed with the subdivision,
mhm.
because we don't like the word where everything is in order with the maintenance agreement,
Mhm.
would the applicant then have to go back to the town to renew the waiver for the number of houses on a?
No,
on a dead-end
not, if the application were denied,
Yes,
I don't know the answer to that. He clearly went to the town board, and the town board did approve an additional lot on this dead-end road segment in connection with a subdivision application. It's a fair question, but if the planning board then denies the subdivision application, what legal effect on the waiver by the town board? I don't know the answer as I sit here. That's an interesting legal issue. I've never looked at that before.
Okay, let's look at it from a different view.
Mhm.
Let's say we approve this, and one of the conditions is you need to have the.
Right, I'm going to interrupt you simply because at this point, given the extent of this discussion and the number of questions that have been raised, I don't feel comfortable advising you on, well, how many parties need to be involved in the maintenance agreement? What would be satisfaction of that condition so we can get a building permit later on? What specific language should there be on a plat note? And with all due respect, I'm not going to be put in a position at a single meeting to come up with those answers when land rights are going to be at issue. This is something that I think should be further reviewed and considered and done correctly so there are no issues.
So in that,
Planning board can proceed how it wants to, but at
I
this
move we
point,
table this.
I don't know what conditions should be attached, making sure the conditions are clear so the property owner understands them and can comply with them to get your building permit. You raise the question, well, what if, does it need to be 3 lot owners or 4 lot owners?
I
What
don't
happens
care.
what happens if one lot owner doesn't agree? Do I not get my building
Everybody on the
permit?
right of way should agree, but there's gonna be somebody maybe that won't agree. Okay, I don't know.
And that's why
And I
that
can't
should be
control that.
clarified.
I cannot
I-
control that. And you understand that, right?
And can you understand that we can't control that either? We don't
Right.
even have any
But
business. in
if
there.
I'm gonna build.
You know
in
that,
there-
don't
if- Listen to me a second, 1 second, please. If I'm gonna build in there, or somebody's gonna build on the property in there, they're gonna meet the requirements that I agreed to for the road requirements, for the road driveways, for the turnaround for the trucks. That is gonna be done, I assure you of that. I spent 30 years in this town, okay, of my life, living here. I'm not gonna, and I'm a pretty honest guy, straightforward. Yeah, I'm stubborn, but I'm pretty honest and straightforward. I agreed to that, and I will maintain that. And that will happen. You have my word on that. And I will not go back on that. All right? I don't care if the new people don't come in there. If they don't want to do anything, I will maintain to the town requirements, the roadway going all the way in past Dayton, onto the 2 lots I have, and whatever road driveway they want to put in on the other side, you can discuss with them, okay? And make them maintain that, all right? I'm not going to maintain their driveway or their position over there on the road going to their property. I will maintain it right to the 2 lots in Jimmy Dayton's if I have to, all right? And I know Whitbeck's, maybe they won't do it either because they're not building there. They might not do it. I know Jimmy Dayton will, and I will. That's all I know at this point. Because Jimmy's already approached me on doing this to the town requirements, and I said, yes, we'll have to put a maintenance agreement together. So what I'm trying to do tonight is just get the 2 lots, so they're split, that's approved. Conditional building is upon getting a maintenance agreement in front of everybody that they agree to, and then getting everybody I can sign, and who I can't sign, I don't know what to tell the town. I don't know what I can do.
Well, don't you have, isn't a requirement already in place to have a maintenance agreement?
On mine, there is, right here, on my minutes. I don't know what the other people have. I don't know. I don't know if Jimmy Dayton has anything in there. See, when I bought the property, sir, there was no houses in there. There was just the lots.
Why does Jimmy Dayton have to maintain it? Why isn't it just your responsibility, I guess?
Because the road goes off of Krieger right by Jimmy Dayton's house. Have you ever been up there?
No, I understand. I'm looking at the map, but I'm just saying Dayton's not the one who requests this, you are. So why wouldn't it just be your responsibility to maintain the?
It may be, Jimmy may not want to maintain it. I'm going to maintain it if I have to maintain it.
Yeah, so if you're the only one.
No, but I'm not the only one.
Why do we need anybody else? I guess?
Because the lots that go by me, they go into where Florence Ives used to own, I can't remember Kristen, whoever owns it now. They have to maintain that part of it. They got to be in on that agreement because they're going to their property on that. All right, I can't do that in there for them. You have to understand, they
I don't think
go,
you have to. I think if you just go to your second lot,
that's all I'm
you
doing.
satisfy what we're asking for. And if you're willing
Yep.
to take care of the maintenance agreement all by yourself, that
Yep.
meets the requirement, doesn't it?
Yes, I'll do it. I'll do the second lot, but I'm not going to do all the way to their property. I'm doing to the second lot, my lot.
Yeah, you read it. I don't think you need to go any further than your second lot. But I think your maintenance agreement and the road needs to be constructed before any building lots are issued.
Yes, that's not a problem, sir. That's not a problem. We have to put a road in there in order to
Well,
build.
Russ had
Okay.
mentioned the agreement, but he didn't mention, the construction of it. I think both requirements are going to be necessary.
That's fine. That's what I have to. In order to build in there, you're gonna have to put a road in there to go build in there, and you're gonna put the road in to meet the requirements to begin with. Okay, it may not be blacktop to meet the construction requirements, but it will be after it's done.
Okay. Because I don't want to have any ruts going in there, they'll tear it up with construction equipment.
They're both open. Yeah, these are.
Well, right now we have a opinion to table it. I do not feel comfortable right now. I would be in favor of tabling this right now until the attorney has a chance to really fine tune the conditions of the approval based on all the information he has to go through. Those are two opinions here. I'll ask for opinions on if there's an opinion to proceed. I'd like to hear it.
Well, I would agree with you, Russ, and I'd like to take it one step further. I'd like to see the actual road shown on map with the turnaround to Victor's second lot as it's mentioned in the document that Andy discussed. You got to construct it anyway, so what's the harm in showing it on the map of it, where it's going to be constructed?
The road
in the
showing
limit.
with the second house.
Yeah, you can show me.
Just,
Yep,
we're just
absolutely.
gonna go right off the edge of it.
There's too many questions.
And the other answer is that Chuck brought up if they want to change that right away, so they go straight in off Krieger Lane into where Ives used to own. I'm happy with that, Chuck. If you want to talk to them about that, not a problem with me. All right.
You what?
Well, I
I'm
don't
gonna say,
think-
I don't see why it was even designed that way. There was a trail there, but since they've started logging up in this area, there's actually access pretty much if you ran that line straight down.
I don't think it is. I think Andy mentioned that just goes for lot two.
See what he's
Oh,
saying?
it's all wooded.
What he's saying is it's all straight through here. Straight through here. Have them maintain this piece in here.
Right, but the problem,
That's cleaner.
it may be cleaner, but it's not over your land. That's
It's
over
over with
with
that.
that.
They
sold these
You
lots.
ain't gonna hit the bucket, huh?
They
You're talking
pays
about-
money to shift it so that.
I don't think the town's gonna talk to anyone.
No, but I mean, okay.
Yep.
I'll just,
That might have been an old farm road that went in there at one time. and
Yeah, it
that's
was.
What it
It
followed,
was,
but
it was.
especially since you have the issue with the spring right there, it might be a good idea to move that road a little bit to the east.
I would have no problem with
You
that. Part of this is where he's saying here, is if they went like this and came straight in, that's on my property. And they can do that, if they want to do that. I have no problem with it, and I'll sign up on that tomorrow. Don't even touch this, I'll just put my road in there. They maintain their own thing to here. They take care of that. And that way there's no conflict.
So when did you buy this parcel, Mike?
Pardon me?
When did you buy this parcel?
1992, I bought it. I was gonna build on it. My wife came down with cancer. We had 3 trips on the cancer. She almost died with it.
So that's this drawing right here from 93.
Yeah, there should be a single house put on that.
Yeah.
There is. If you want to see it, the shown here, Andy.
Yeah.
It's right there, the drawing and the approval line. Kevin's got a draw on that, so that's where the house went.
When they got a mini
The town and the county. And I didn't have to have road frontage back then, according to the town. They never required it to do that.
In 91, you got the,
Was he 91, 92? I'm sorry.
well, in 91, you got the right of way here for the road.
Right. Right. I bought the property, got the right of way, and then the house came after that. They were gonna build it there. We actually were gonna build it, put the house in it. That's why this right of way got.
Right away went around the.
Here, it used to go here like this, to over
That
here.
might have been what it
And it
was.
should've
Yeah.
just went straight.
So the right of way that's shown on that map is pre this waiver. Is that correct?
No, this right of way that's shown on this map is this waiver,
Okay.
all right? The original right of way came down and went in and went right through the middle of the property over here and then down to our lane. And I said, we want to build that house in there. If you look at that other map, the original plot was approved to build a house in here with a conventional septic. Okay, back in 92. That's what I was trying to say. And then we didn't have road frontage and neither did Jimmy Dayton when he had his house built. If you look back at Jimmy Dayton,
Well, I can see it here.
when I did the variance, just before I did the variance, Jimmy had to go get road frontage from you guys, because he never had it. He built the house without road frontage, because that wasn't required back then. Okay, I mean, I know it's a bit of a mess, but, and we agreed to do in the minutes of the meeting, to do this roadway into here and meet the town requirements. I mean, if I gotta maintain it to my property and 2 lots, I'll do that. I won't even I'll just talk to Jimmy. So he's in agreement where we put it, and the town's in agreement, I'm gonna try some agreement. I don't have a problem doing that, but I don't wanna deal with these people at all if I can avoid it, okay? I really don't want to.
Well,
It's more than personal, okay?
Well, that's not on our plate.
I know.
That's your problem.
I know. But if they wanna put that right away straight across my
We
property.
can't make a condition that, you know,
Right,
you
I'm
can't.
not looking for that, sir.
Okay, but I just want to make that clear. We don't solve border disputes here. You know, we're not the, you know,
I understand. So basically what I'm here for, and I know a bunch of questions got raised, I tried to be as honest as I could with the board and let you know what I know and I understand. What we're looking to do is just split it into 2 lots. Maintenance agreement will have to be put together, obviously.
I have one final question.
Sure.
Why don't we do this all together? Why don't we get the maintenance agreement all in place and everything?
Yep.
Before you split what's the rush on splitting the lots? If you can't do
Nothing, it's
anything.
just that everything, it's been since 2016. Everything seems to we go one step more and then we got more to do to satisfy, and then we go one step more and then we got more to satisfy, and it just keeps going. I'm not in a hurry to split it. What I'm trying to do is get 2 tax maps so it's done. So my son, when he gets through his divorce case up there in Vermont, he can build on it. Okay? And it may be this spring. You know, he'll come in and say, this is what I want to do. I don't have a problem with putting the maintenance agreement together. If you have a good lawyer in the town you'd like to see the maintenance agreement come out of, if you have his name, I will call him and ask him to do it and pay.
I mean, I would prefer to have everything in place before we made the approval. That makes sense to me. What we're trying to do is allow you to do that by changing the timeline. And that gets us into some legal issues that, you know, procedural issues that I don't know whether this board wants to cross over at this point.
Understand.
All right.
Let me just say this, okay? If we put a maintenance agreement together, if Jimmy Dayton or anybody doesn't want to sign the maintenance agreement, if the town says, okay, this is what is required and this is what we want to see going through there, I will maintain that road all the way to lot 2, up to my house and everything else, and up to the lot 1, which is the other one on the left, and then right out to Krieger Lane. I'll just maintain it and put it in myself, okay? I'll have it put in. It's going to cost me a lot of money, but I'll have it done. It'll be done. It's over with if they don't want to contribute to it. But if they do, and they want to be part of the maintenance agreement on it, that's fine and dandy.
I don't
All right.
know how legally you can set up a maintenance agreement. I'm not
I
in
don't
that
know either. I've
profession.
never done it.
I don't know whether you can, you know, have a default, say, you know, at least 2 parties have to agree to this to put the road in. I don't know what that's all about. You know, Andy's shaking his head. But all I'm telling you is that I would prefer to see it now at this point. Let's get the maintenance agreement in place, and then we'll approve the.
Okay. Do you want the maintenance agreement signed and everybody signed, or what do you want? How far do you want to go?
In place.
I think we have to look at it legally before we say who has to sign it. you know?
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
really,
I agree.
we need to know if all 4 have to sign it, if 2 sign it. But I think we need to table it, like Dave said, and look into this.
Do you have a lawyer in the town? Because I'm not familiar with anybody that would do that.
We don't make recommendations.
We can't.
So I just get it.
Mr. McGrath
All
can
right,
help
thank
you
you.
with that.
So what do you want to do? Have it next month again, another month, another 2 months?
We meet 2 times a month, so.
We could put you oh,
Not sure.
I have a funny feeling you're probably gonna need a month to go through this anyway.
What if,
So I would suggest that we reschedule you for the first meeting in February.
do you have time to,
Which is,
Which is,
February 3rd, I believe.
I think it's the 3rd. I don't have my phone.
okay, yep.
we have time to get a lawyer?
Whatever the first Thursday.
February 3rd, you're right.
If you can't make it, call Chuck and he'll take you off the agenda.
And if I could, if I give you my email under with I'd be glad to look through these different minutes, but I prefer that if you could give me
the actual note, you'd like to see a note for not the maintenance agreement, but maybe the note for the driveways or for the, whatever I'd like to put it on, the note, there's like no building permit will be issued until a maintenance agreement and until driveways are constructed or
Right.
something like that.
Why don't you email me
Okay.
and Wayne? We can work in that language.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I put a note on that side.
Yep. Absolutely.
So should we try to get a maintenance agreement drafted and to you by when?
Sooner the better, Mike.
Yeah, I mean,
And as soon as you get it to us, we'll get it distributed.
So if they wouldn't give me their address or their name, the people who bought this property, they slammed the phone down on me when I was trying to talk to them about the right of way. Do you have that? Is there something you could, is it possible? I mean, I don't know if the town can email me that, but I have no way of contacting them or doing anything.
I have lots on the tax rolls, I have their address.
I don't have that. They wouldn't give it to me. They slammed the phone down.
And I was being polite, by the way.
So Kevin, you're gonna show the road as well and what that
Right, that's
turnaround
what
is
I
gonna
was-
look like?
So I think if we're gonna show continuing off the existing road,
Well, off of Krieger Lane.
off of Krieger, there's an existing, that's a
That's
light
there.
up driveway there now. It may not be,
Well, it has to be wide enough into the proper standards all the way from Krieger Lane.
okay.
Yep.
So I mean, that this one may have to be torn up or,
Or added onto or whatever.
Understand it won't be town maintained, so however you're proposing to construct it, it'll be privately owned and privately maintained. It'll just get,
Yeah, if that's wide enough.
Yeah.
And then you might be okay.
okay. I don't think it's 26 feet,
I don't think it is either.
probably 20, most roads, I don't.
Well, like Andy said, there's a traveled way and then there's the rest of the road. 26 feet is the total. The
Okay,
whole traveled way doesn't have to be 26 feet.
correct.
right.
Two,
okay.
3 foot.
I don't know, I can't remember what it is, the town standard, whether it's 20 or 22
It's in that
or
neighborhood.
something.
Generally, it's going to be a 20-foot travel way with 2 3-foot gutters. That's your 26.
Essentially, two cars have to pass each other
Yeah.
safely.
And just so you know, Mike, I've spoken with Brady Mansfield, and they are aware that an agreement is gonna have to be written up.
Okay.
So,
I'm
you know,
gonna,
they're aware of this, and it is in their interest.
I'm gonna bring
To
it.
be able to access
I'm
their
gonna bring it
property,
in,
so.
we'll get, I'll have to figure out a lawyer who's gonna do it, I'll pay for the darn thing, just get it done, okay? And then, because I don't wanna carry this on for another 10 years. I'm 67 years of age, I'll be dead probably in 5 anyway, so.
It'll be good to get it done, and then you get 2 building lots, but it's
Well,
done correctly.
I am not a problem with that, I agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
It's just frustrating from my standpoint. It's just
Understood.
Going and going and going, okay? And, we'll get it there.
Yep.
We'll get it, we'll just get, I don't know who to contact. If anybody has any suggestions, I'll contact, I'll ask Kevin. I have no idea who here would do that and then get it done in a timely manner.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have them drop a
These
copy. to Kevin
turnarounds actually are
to you, Chuck,
different issue.
immediately, and then you guys can
The hammerhead
get it to the board
that
before
they
we
need
meet.
for
So that
the
way,
dead end
if you have any questions and you can
So
get
there
back
has
to
to be
me,
some
we can
way
make the adjustments with
for
the town.
emergency
So when we walk in
vehicles to
here,
turn around
everybody's
on the-
looking at the
on the
pages, right?
road.
So we're all agreed on what's on
It
there.
would make sense
So
not
I
to
would-
have
I
you
would
back
say
in here
put his
until
bond
that's
on.
resolved
Have
and
to,
done.
have to understand, I had to take my wife to emergency center, Albany Medical Center, 4 o'clock in the morning from Burlington, Vermont, and now, and drive her back
I
there.
don't know how much room there is
All right,
here.
and then I had to drive back down here to
I'll
get
be
this,
able
and then
to-
gotta drive back up
I
there.
might be able to do
So,
something up in
And I just had
here.
2 new hips put in, I had a new hip put in December 2nd on my right
I'm
side, I
not
had
gonna
one
put
in June on this side, I'm a little short on patience, I apologize for that, it's just frustrating, okay? Thank you very much, we'll try to get that done, and Kevin will take care of that part, and I'll try to get the maintenance agreement as soon as I can to you.
The way that turned, Mike, that road, I believe, if you look at the overview from satellite, there was just a clump of trees up there, and that's might be
No, I
where
just
they
changed
turned
jobs.
ahead of those clump of trees.
See, if you look at where the property line is, this one might be deceptive here a little bit.
I don't have
Because
any
I think it's
business
in the
cards
middle
yet.
of the road. So even if they dig far way over on my property, it's straight, they still can't.
We got two other people sitting out there.
That would have eliminated any problem. Okay.
All
If
right.
they're willing to do that, I'd be willing to just do it. I'll talk to Dick and Jack.
Probably has
Okay?
once upon a time.
I'll try to give Dick a call.
We're gonna put them on the schedule for the first meeting in February.
Sure.
I
If
think
can't
any
make the meeting in
agreement should be,
February for any reason at all, I'll have Kevin be coming here, okay, to go through this with you. And he can go from there, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, thank you very much tonight, I'm sorry to take
Yeah,
up all
and
your
just to
time.
be clear, I think at this point, you kind of understand factually what's going on. We'll get the road maintenance agreement reviewed. Would it be acceptable to the board if Mr. Vickers is not available, that just Kevin appear for this? And be able to get the plat acted upon?
Okay, and my understanding is I'm trying to get the maintenance agreement to you before the next couple of weeks.
That's correct.
So that way you guys can review it and spit it back to us, okay, and any
Correct.
comments you have, and we need to adjust. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good, thanks. Well, you guys talk to just a second.
Yeah, and I'll get, your email on,
Also, I can send it to you. I'll send it to you right now.
Can I write on this?
yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
Okay, don't forget your map.
Mr. Vickers, there's no issue with
Okay.
you driving back in there?
No,
Proceeding ahead,
you can drive on my
Our
property all
third-
day long.
Well, I
You can-
can't drive, I can't get to your property unless I go on somebody else's.
No, there's no issue. That's what that right away goes from the
I just
road.
want to look at the terrain and the topo and the drainage.
No, we're ready. Jimmy Dayton and I are good friends. You go ahead right ahead. Jimmy's not gonna say anything. Just tell him I said, okay. He'll be fine with that, okay? Anybody in the board wants to go through, please do.
is everybody okay now? Okay,
Thank you.
I'd like to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, number 3 on our agenda is Casey Waiver subdivision. We don't have to table anything. No, we did.
First
we didn't
time
make-
here.
We didn't make
I
any
don't have it
motion.
on the board. You do
Okay.
have copies. I have an extra
Just a
copy.
quick, excuse me, Andy, we never made a motion, so there doesn't have to be anything tabled. We,
Correct, it's just put on the February 3rd.
okay. Thank you for clarifying. Okay, and you are,
Tom Casey?
okay? Sorry about the time restraints here that we have.
No problem.
Okay, go ahead. What do you got here?
I own a property at 461 North Lake that consists of a house. There were two. We took one down, a barn and a garage, and I'm looking to separate the land, roughly 6.5 acres, I believe, from 2 acres and the house and barn, with intent of likely sale of the house and the garage and barn. Both parcels have frontage on North Lake Ave.
Okay, we did review this under new business at our last meeting. There was a couple questions on, what was the closeness of where the wells were? There isn't any wells, it's public water, right?
It's town water.
Okay, about the septic system, I believe,
That's shown on the map.
It should be
there
over.
was a question on it in the
Yeah,
last minutes.
We did ask a question about the well.
right there.
Okay. But those all have been answered, I believe. Did Mr. Danskin mention anything to you to maybe point out to us? Generally, Mark Danskin is here.
Oh, he told me he didn't need to be here.
No?
I would have made him come here. Sorry.
I'll say
He told me I was good on my own, so,
I'll say something off the record.
okay.
If he isn't here, you shouldn't have any problems.
It might have been what he was telling me. No,
Maybe that's what he was trying to tell us.
Keep in mind that you sent them to the town board meeting first.
Okay.
Yeah, he sent me to the wrong meeting.
They didn't approve it?
He did tell me that he thought that he would be happy with the amount of area that he left between the tile field and septic and the proposed border. He thought that that was, that shouldn't be an issue.
I think it's 10 feet. I think we established that at the last meeting. I think that was probably the question I was referring to, how close it was actually to the proposed boundary line.
It is 10 feet. It's supposed to be 10 feet and it appears to be at least 10 feet according to
The scale.
He told me he put some extra in there, so it wasn't an
Okay.
issue, but I don't know the exact distance.
Where on North Lake is this? What's on the other side?
Familiar with where the old Green Acres was? But you know where Broadview Court is? If you're coming out from Sickaway before you hit the reservoir, before you hit Miller Lane, it's that straightaway before that. As you come around the long straightaway in North Lake, you go by McCabe's old place, then Broadview. And then as soon as you turn the corner, there's the old Green Acres and then the old Farrell property. This is the old Farrell property.
Now,
So your parents' place was farther down.
This property, this land here, butts up against my parents.
They had the big long driveway.
Right, and then, yes.
I've been up to that. too.
Look at my state.
Yeah. And this is the.
the only question I have, and I don't know if Mark pointed this out to you. Do you have a proposed subdivision line that touches North Lake right here
Flat.
and then goes up? Goes here, that's just a one point here. If we were to approve this, then the only access to this whole parcel is right here. See what I mean?
Right.
If you wanted to subdivide this again, which you couldn't do on a waiver for another 7 years, you would have no access. You could not, this would not be an approved building lot. That's the only thing I'm just going to point out to you.
Yeah, the only thing I will point out is where the creek comes through here, this is a wet area, there's a lot of cattails in here. And behind the barn here, where you see the trees, this is all a hill going up to.
Okay, I don't know the whole
Right,
topo.
so it's-
Yeah, it's not,
certainly
you know,
wouldn't- it's not
topo's not
impossible to build,
required.
but certainly not an attractive site.
Yeah, I was just pointing that out, so. The remaining 6.53 acres would be that whole piece and probably could only be subdivided on the north end of it again. I was just making that observation that you.
Okay, understood.
Okay, I don't have any, Wayne, do you have any other questions on this?
I do not.
Does anybody have any questions on this? Is there any reason why we can't proceed with seeker determination and?
Nope, it's properly in front of you for
Okay.
action.
Then we will, I will entertain a seeker determination at this point.
I'll make a motion for a negative declaration under seeker.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now on the approval of the waiver. Conditions,
There's an existing home on one lot and the second lot is vacant, over 6 acres. I don't see any conditions. Do you, Wayne?
For a waiver, no.
No, I don't.
okay, then I'll entertain a motion for approval of the waiver.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? You're all set.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Tom, so I
patience.
need to give him stamp.
Did you like these? Do they get stamped?
Might as well hand them to me.
Okay.
You want it stamped? If I don't have it, I can't get them stamped, so.
Okay, that completes our agenda for tonight. Now I'd like to skip to old business. We have Mr. McClure here for a waiver of subdivision. At our last meeting, that was basically tabled with no determination. There was a letter required from the neighbor, which he has supplied us. So why don't you do a little presentation here and we'll,
So basically, what I'm trying to do is obtain the right of way. I've had a right of way with access up to my house.
you're Todd, right, just for the record?
Without,
You're Todd, right?
yes, I'm Todd McClure. I reside at 206 South Road.
Okay, thank
I
you.
will acquire the property that's owned by Frank Estabrook's 232 South Road. And it basically, it follows the stone wall here and cuts up to my existing property line. His brother previously owned this, and he was gonna give him the right of way, and unfortunately, his brother ended up passing away. I bought the house, I've had the right of way use and maintained the driveway, had a good relationship with Frank. I approached him on it, and he said, well, yeah, I was planning on doing that years ago for my brother, I have no problem with you obtaining it, so that's what I'm here for.
Okay.
I'm breaking the clip.
It's this over here. He has just a right of way to get over here. In his house.
Mr. Estabrook use that
Now
road?
he's cleaning this whole thing up.
Yeah, he does, from time to time, and the stipulation was, because he's got a field up here, he asked if, if he ever needed to go up there to use it. if he could.
But he doesn't have a house up
Yeah, so
there.
this
No,
is Estabrook.
No, it's all,
He's,
the closest house to me is down here at Janine's, and then there's one way over here, this is all field and land that Frank owns all the way up. I think it's a Penny Royal Hills, land everywhere.
so your existing house
I'm pretty much landlocked.
is landlocked.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing this, so that way I now have ownership of the driveway, which I have a right of way to right now.
Okay. And the remaining properties of Estabrook, he has further frontage on South Road?
Oh, yeah, he owns this lot here to the next house and then everywhere, like surrounding my next neighbor now,
Okay.
and all the way behind, I think over to Penny Royal.
So he's basically making you legal.
Yes.
All right. Would this be classified more as a lot line adjustment?
It could be viewed that. It technically is a waiver under the subdivision regs here. The condition would be that this doesn't create a new building lot, that the parcel gets merged into your existing
Yeah.
deed, so it's all one lot.
Okay,
I'm obtaining a lot of rocks.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, there's no building, just owning the driveway. So,
Legal access is a good thing.
Does anybody have any questions
Legal
on that?
access is a good thing.
Our friendly engineer, do you have any questions on
I
that?
have no questions.
Okay, is there any reason why we can't proceed with an approval on this?
no. You can proceed. Yep.
Okay, and first, would entertain okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now on the approval of the waiver, conditions being that the two of them have to be merged and filed with the Rensselaer County.
Yeah, there'll be a deed that merges it into your existing lot, and just file a copy of the merger deed with the building department.
Okay. Would somebody like to make that motion for approval?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
There's a second. Is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're all set.
So does he need stamping for
No
filing?
problem. You want these maps back?
Probably, right?
Probably.
These are stamped.
Yeah, We'll go ahead and stamp that in connection with the merger deed. You can get your map recorded. Yep.
I got it. Okay. So I skipped over to old business. I'm gonna go back to, is there any new business? Is there anything that anybody wishes to discuss under new business as
I
far
got a
as?
question for you. Maybe you know the answer, or maybe somebody here knows. I go down in on Lord Ave, and there's a culvert pipe comes out of the bottom of the hill, Route 7. I didn't know where that comes from, where it goes to. I just couldn't tell which way it was going. Chuck, there's a culvert pipe comes out of the bottom of the hill of Route 7 into Lord Ave. Does that go?
I think there's a pipe that goes over towards Hillcrest that comes over.
Under 7.
Under 7, about halfway, right, almost in the middle of that bank of Hoosick Street, there's a culvert pipe comes out. Whether it drains into that culvert pipe or drains out of that culvert pipe.
I don't understand the question.
There's a very deep manhole in
There's a culvert
Hoosick Road.
pipe at the bottom of the hill that's Route 7 into Hannaford.
Right,
But I don't know if it drains into it or drains out of it.
drains out.
Drains what?
Out
Out.
toward Cooper Pond.
Where's it go?
You're on the Lord Avenue side?
Yeah, right in the middle of
The slope.
you're looking at Hoosick Street from Lord Ave.
Yep.
The bottom of the slope, there's a culvert.
Yes.
Where's it, does it drain into
Drains
the,
into that.
into Hannaford?
Yeah.
Where does it come from?
Comes from the
The hill pipe.
DOT drainage system.
30-foot pipe down?
How big is it? It's not that big, is it? Well, it's
30 inches.
Yeah.
Is this the one that kind of goes over towards Cumberland Farms?
I don't know, just sticking out of the bottom of that hill there. And
Right? Sticking out of the barrel.
If you,
It
if you
comes
drove-
it comes out of the drainage system for Route 7.
Okay,
Was there water coming out of it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Could be coming out of the other side of, like Planet Fitness, but I
don't
would think that anything they did on 7, they're sending it down Hoosick Street now.
Well, that was built when they were collecting water and treating it before releasing it. There is stormwater controls all along Route 7. You don't see them all. I believe that pipe comes out of the drainage system on Route 7.
That pipe's been there a long time.
Yeah.
That's an old pipe.
Okay.
Used to help the skating rink.
Has your question been answered?
Sort of.
Okay.
I mean, it's been there.
What's that, Route 7?
All right, well, everybody's
All I
thinking
know is
about
it's
things to
all
talk
rock up
about.
there, so I'm wondering, what you're saying, is it draining in or out? I think it's not draining out.
The only thing I have on our next agenda on the 20th is Borrego Solar at this point.
Yeah,
Am I
I'm not
correct?
sure. I haven't heard anything from Ken Grady. We had him as a tentative, I think, for that date as well.
We just, well,
I think that one was adjourned without date until you heard from him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Borrego was supposed to submit some plans. I still have not seen any.
The visual, right?
No,
We're
the
waiting.
stormwater and
Yeah, there were a lot of
Oh,
engineering.
a lot of
work that
stuff.
needed to be done.
so are you implying that there may not be a meeting on the 16th? Because they don't have all their stuff in, or what?
well, I think our discussion was if they could get me something, with it before 2 weeks of the next meeting, then I'd have time to review it.
I was gonna say it, but I didn't.
And then we have Vickers on the 2nd tentatively. I think I'm gonna be on vacation that year. So,
It may not have a quorum.
I think we can discuss this later. So, I mean, those are the only two items that are active right now that I have. Do you have anything else?
No, you're right. I'm gonna have to wait on
Okay,
the call from Tangrady.
What about the
Cell tower on 7.
7?
That gentleman has to get quite a bit of stuff to Mr., well, actually, he's got quite a bit of stuff to Mr. LaBerge because Wayne is accusing himself from this. So the escrow account has been identified for monetary value, and the money was supposed to arrive today. I don't know if it did or not. And he has 2 or 3 other things that Mr. LaBerge would like in the way of the structural report has been redone for the right height. And it was just a top cover that they gave me, and said Mr. LaBerge wants the whole report, and that was one thing. The FCC licensing was another requirement. A third requirement was the visual simulation, which when I spoke with the gentleman this morning, he said, we've never done that, so we had to learn how to do that, which kind of surprised me for a tower, because usually everybody's, what do they look like? So he has a little bit more work to do.
isn't that one already exist?
Pardon me?
Doesn't that tower already exist?
Oh, gosh, yes, yeah. But
So why do we have to have visual?
that's what the requesting engineer asked for.
Probably for where the additional panels are going to go.
And then we also have CVE North America, right?
Yeah, well, they have to go before the board.
The town board
The town
first.
board, yeah.
Right, so to update the board on that, the public hearing on the zone change petition is next Thursday night at 6:30. So there'll be town board action presumably on that shortly. I don't anticipate that in January, but it'll be likely shortly thereafter, and then they'll be back to you.
Just for the board's benefit, that was the one where we wanted to change the zoning for that little strip of land to access off Bel Air and Lord Avenue.
Right, and also the back
The
part of
chunk
the
in the back,
parcel
yeah.
A little chunk in the back, but it was
leading down to
basically,
North Lake.
What the letter we got from the quarry, what kind of expansion is the quarry looking for?
So the application was submitted by RJ Valeni for their Grafton Quarry to DEC to modify their state mining permit. They're looking to both go laterally and vertically. So part of the proposal, you'll recall maybe a few years ago, they did come before the town board requesting a zone change because the company does own property both in Grafton and in Brunswick. The current quarry, the life of mine, is entirely within Grafton. But the parcel on which the quarry sits goes over the line into Brunswick. But there'd never been any mining proposed and certainly not approved in Brunswick. A few years ago, the company came in and said, we note that our property located in Brunswick is in the A40 zoning district. We'd like it changed to heavy industrial, just because we may want to do something in the future and it's adjacent to our quarry. And that was never advanced a few years ago. It just sat and then it went nowhere. Earlier in 21, the company did make an application to DEC to modify their state mining permit. And in their EAF, they did list Brunswick as requiring a zone change. They incorrectly identified a further town board special use permit. The project would need a zone change by the town board to allow the use, and then site plan review by this board. So that was corrected. But what they're looking, or what they're proposing to do, is to expand laterally to increase the life of mine area. It would go over the municipal boundary. It's proposing to go into Brunswick. I think it's on the order, if memory serves me right, about 15 acres in Brunswick. It will proceed down to the Route 2 corridor. They're proposing to leave some vegetative buffer along Route 2. They're also proposing to go vertical expansion, to go deeper into the existing quarry, to lower the floor, I think by 100 feet. And they also want to modify their hours of operation. They're proposing something on the order of 5:30 in the morning until 7:30 at night, Monday through Friday, with extended Saturday hours. Right now, they do have hours of operation, but they're more standard, 6:30 to, I can't remember what they are late in the day. I can tell you those trucks roll at 6:30,
Oh, yeah.
but they're proposing to modify it to go to 5:30. The department reviewed the application, not unusual. They have deemed it incomplete. They sent out a notice of incomplete application. There's a lot of additional information the department is asking for. The department sent out a lead agency coordination notice. That's what went into the town. The town board has responded saying that they don't object to the department being lead agency on this, but there are certain issues that the town will want reviewed that are pertinent to both the zone change and probably ultimately on site plan review as well if it gets that far. And that's the status of it. So the proposal is lateral and vertical expansion and increased hours.
Chuck, have you heard anything from Oakwood Solar? The Troy Solar on Oakwood Ave?
Not for that site, but I did have a meeting with Mr. Tarrant and it was Tom Murley. And what they are looking at is moving farther, what would be west in the site on the other side of the PDD. They seem to think that they have a piece of land big enough to be able to support a small scale commercial solar. I say small scale, in the 4 to 5 megawatt sweet spot that they need in that area. And he's working with Mr. RDM there, Rod Michaels, to come up with a plan. They were using a earlier zoning board map that didn't have the proper area marked for where that delineation was, and we actually asked the gentleman from the LaBerge firm who we've been working with on the zoning law changes. We've asked him to actually pinpoint those, in which he did for Mr. Michaels, and they're working on that. For the actual Oakwood site, I don't hear anything going on at all since the DEC sent their recommendations as to remediation of the site prior to the placement of the solar. And of course, that's the same group that has the Brunswick solar farm, the Sickaway solar farm, which is off of Shippey Lane and off of Brunswick Road. And those folks they're in the zoning board for a use variance.
Okay.
All right,
The only new thing I can think of, and I think you guys saw it, was the Riccardi Lane. We are getting a lot of calls on this. One gentleman wants to know if this 1.39 acre parcel is a buildable lot. He's asked 2 or 3 times about that. This is a proposal, Mr. Liberace, when he's selling, just to go 2 lots, 1 lot being the 2 ones divided by the power right away for National Grid, as well as 1 which would actually be an extension off of Riccardi Lane, which in effect would give these 2 parcels right away to a public, public road. And my assumption is there's other, people that are interested in this, the folks that are developing over here, AC Development. But we have been getting a few calls on this. The gentleman is in Italy, and he is there for 3 months. So I don't know how much activity this will really have, because we were asking about electronic signatures and stuff like that. So and then a third party came in and started asking questions about it, so we may see that in the future.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
So right now, absent Wayne getting anything further, maybe Borrego